Good afternoon, everyone. I'm Mark Tillison. This is my tea time show, and I've actually have a cup of coffee today. Today we're talking all about Google Plus communities versus collections, the difference between the two, what you need to do to set up a community, some tips, and maybe a few horror stories at the end. So back for the second time. I don't know why she's mad enough to do this, but we did a great show last time. I'll put a link in the description. Donna Beckett is here. How you doing, Donna?
I'm good, Mark. Thank you. Thanks for having me back.
Good. No, it's been way too long. It's been way too long. So let's just run through a couple of quick house rules. So yeah, give us a like if you like videos. We do these every week, a whole bunch of different topics. So make sure you subscribe and catch those tips and advice to grow your business. Everything from Google Plus to analytics to AdWords to Facebook to Twitter to all sorts of stuff. So agenda today we're going to run through is, as I said, just about Google Plus communities and collections, differences between the two, why you choose one rather than the other, depending on what you're trying to achieve. Donna's created a fantastic community, the UK Connect community, so we're going to be talking about why that happened and what it's about and who's in there, and then what Donna's learned as well along the way to help you kind of avoid it, making some of those early mistakes I'm sure she's made as well, and then maybe a couple of horror stories at the end. So we'll dive right in. Donna, you should probably just explain kind of who you are, what you do, and your kind of Google Plus history, just very briefly.
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm actually a solicitor. My practice is Beckett and Co Solicitors, high street practice up in Lancashire, and I personally am a bit of a social media addict. Started off on Twitter, absolutely loved it. Discovered Google Plus fairly early on. Would it be 2011, 2012? Within about 6 months of Google Plus being set up, and really loved the platform and just really got into it. Just really like the features of Google Plus, and have spent quite a bit of my time on this particular platform, as you will probably realise.
Yeah, absolutely. Me too. So we were just going to, one of the questions that comes up quite often is obviously with the recent change and Google Plus collections. I did a show on this. I'll put a link in just about Google Plus collections anyway and how to use them, how to set them up. So we won't labour the point too much about those. But what is the difference, and why would you choose a collection rather than a community? For me, I love the new collections feature. I think it's really good. Obviously, it gives you an opportunity to, when you're sharing a post or a comment or whatever, put it into a category, and you create your own category, your own collection, and the things belong in it, and people can just follow that collection rather than following everything you post, which is quite a neat thing. But the fundamental difference is, I guess, is that you control what goes into your collection. It's your collection, it belongs to you, you post to it, and and that's it, effectively. Whereas with a community, obviously multiple people can belong to that, and lots of people can post within that as well. So that's the kind of fundamental difference. Anything to kind of add to that?
Yeah, well, I mean, I think I see collections in a way as a kind of progression from communities, because traditionally on Google Plus, communities gave people the opportunity to find posts and people who were interested in topics that were of interest to them. So people gathered around a common idea or interest, and collections, I suppose, allows people to do that without the commitment to being part of a community or running a community. So it's another way that people can find topics that are relevant to them by subject matter. But there isn't that same, you can develop relationships with the people who are commenting on your collections, but there isn't that same sort of networking ability, I think, that you have within communities. So they both kind of do a similar thing in helping people find the topics and the posts that are of interest to them, but as you say, in a slightly different way.
Yeah, that's a good point actually. So fundamentally, I guess if you're wanting to find other people that have a common interest to you, then a community is going to be a much better way of doing that. Whereas if it's a collection, you're effectively just broadcasting, and you might have a bunch of followers. Both of us are quite lucky to have quite a big following on Google Plus, and certainly some of my collections have kind of huge followings. But so I do get quite a lot of engagement and interaction off that, but it's because I already have a following. Whereas if I wanted to gain a following and ask people about, I don't know, some WordPress problem or something, then the WordPress community is probably going to give me a better result than posting that question in a WordPress collection, if I had one, which I don't. But but yeah, so that's a really good point, and obviously a community is going to be better for listening to what people are posting about within a specific subject. So again, just using WordPress as an example, if you want to kind of keep tabs on what's going on with WordPress, then you should probably be hanging out in that community and listening to what's going on, rather than just posting your own stuff in a collection. And obviously, it goes without saying, if you see a good post in a community, then you can reshare it to your own collection. No harm in doing that either. So you're kind of the queen of the UK community, really. There are quite a few communities that I spend a little bit of time in. I probably spend more time in the UK Connect community than I do in any of the others. But in terms of the UK, do you know where it ranks in terms of the number of members? Is it the biggest one?
No, not by a long shot. I mean, there is actually a UK community that has tens of thousands of members, and it's quite an active place. But I think it's fallen foul recently to a problem that a lot of communities have, in that they can be targeted by undesirables or spammers. And
trolls.
And we don't have that in UK Connect. So in terms of size, it's actually quite a small community. We're just short of 1,800 members, so it's quite a small community. But I did actually carry out a little bit of an experiment using a new app that came out a little while ago, which allows you to assess the activity within a community. So it tells you how many posts are being made, how many members are posting, and how many members are commenting. And the UK Connect community was actually more active than the far bigger community. We have more members actually posting, and in terms of percentage terms, it was very, very active, given the number of members that we have. So yeah, it's not huge, and it would be a lot bigger if we let everybody in who wants to be in, but we're quite strict about who we let in. But yeah, it's just a really, really great group of people, and it's what I consider it to be a real community of people who have got to know one another over the last almost 2 years since the community's been running, and I think that's one of the benefits that we have there.
Okay. I'll put a link in the description anyway, so people can find that if they want to join, if Donna will let you in. So what made you kind of start that community in the first place?
Yeah, well, this goes back to, it would be March 2014. So yeah, I'd actually been active on Google Plus, very active on Google Plus for about a year at that point, and I had a lot of connections. And I used to talk about Google Plus everywhere I went. I was, one of these boring people who harps on about it because it's, you're quite passionate about it. And in the UK, people were a little bit slow to adopt Google Plus as a platform. And whenever I talked about Google Plus, people used to say to me, but there are no people from the UK on Google Plus. It's all US. There's nothing to do with the UK on there. And from my own experience, I knew that that wasn't the case, because I knew that I already had, probably at that stage, a good 1,000 or so people that I was connected to that were based in the UK. And so I kind of got this idea that it would be a good idea to try and connect up these people, because they were all kind of struggling along on their own, struggling to find people to connect with that were relevant to them. And I thought, well, I've kind of got this collection of people in one place, so let's see if we can connect some people up. And I started initially by creating and sharing UK circles, so circles of people that were from the UK. But circle sharing, it's not an ideal way of connecting people, and it sort of had a little bit of a bad name at the time because some people abused the circle sharing option. And so I'd actually been giving a talk about Google Plus to some local businesses, and in the course of that talk I'd been talking about the benefits of setting up a community, but I had never set up a community.
You're talking the talk and not walking the walk.
Yeah, and it kind of, the penny dropped, and I thought, well, this would be a good way to do what I'm trying to do and connect these people up. So that's where the name came from, UK Connect. So it was literally set up a community as a place for people in the UK to network together. Not necessarily businesses. I mean, it's just, some people have businesses, not everybody in there has a business. And I just invited my UK connections to join, and within the first 24 hours I think we had about 170 people had joined. We had 90 people had posted introductions, and it just took off, and it was very, very busy, lots of people joining, and it was just a really good opportunity for people to connect up and just realize that people in the UK were using Google Plus, and there was a place for them to connect.
Yeah, absolutely. Just a point on the circle sharing thing for those people who are new to Google Plus. So obviously you can create a circle and put a bunch of people in it, and there's a whole other show and a blog post on that if you want to read it or watch it. But what you could do is take that circle you'd created and you could share it. So lots of people, I think they got dubbed circle jerks by some of the Americans, that were just kind of going, hey, I've included you in this circle, and if you want to be included next time, then you need to reshare it and do all this stuff. And it was this kind of it's like the whole follower train thing that happens on Twitter and all this kind of stuff. And it was a bit rubbish, and you felt like you were being kind of blackmailed to get included in them. So I just kind of ended up ignoring most or all of them, but Google removed that function anyway, so you can't now share a circle. I actually did the same as you. I don't know if you remember, I did share kind of UK pluses. I've got a circle called UK pluses, and I did share that and kind of said, these people are on Google Plus and you should follow them. But I did the same thing. Because I thought that, similar to you, it was kind of, look, there are lots of people in the UK that are using Google Plus and they're sharing some good stuff, and they should have more followers, and it isn't just Americans on here or wherever. So yeah, I did the same thing, but no, you can't share circles anymore in any case. You can share a community though. So yeah, if you do go to the community, go and share it as well for Donna, because that'd be great. So based on your experience of setting that up, have you set any others up, by the way, apart from the UK Connect one?
Not public ones. No. I set a couple of private ones up, just literally for me to use as a kind of place to bookmark and store posts that I was interested in. But I mean, talking about collections, that's something that a collection can now be used for, private collections and public collections.
Yeah.
So no, I find it that running a community is an active, successful community. To keep it successful, it does take quite a bit of effort. And I think that if I try to sort of set up other communities, I have been asked to set up different communities for different topics and things, but I feel that I would probably be spreading myself a little bit too thin. I spend an embarrassing amount of time on social media as it is already, so I've resisted the urge to go down that route.
One thing with communities though is that obviously you have moderators, and as the owner, then by default you're a moderator, but you can invite other moderators, can't you? So I'm not kind of pointing the finger here. It feels like I'm having a go at you. I'm not, but I'm just saying, if you wanted to set up a community, you don't have to do it on your own. You can have moderators and a group of people or whatever to kind of share the workload a bit, can't you? So that's one good thing, I guess, with that. So based on your experience of setting that up, do you have any tips for our viewers on kind of, you know, do's and don'ts when you're setting up a community?
I think just from my experience, I think one of the things that I am most grateful for is my decision right at the outset to set the community up as an invitation only or request to join community, which basically means that the door is closed, and if you want to join the community, you either have to be invited by a moderator or you have to in effect send a request to join. And that has allowed me to vet the people that are asking to join the community. And you know, if somebody is based in the UK, I did set my stall out with that quite strictly right at the beginning. And even though over the years we've had some very high profile Google Plus people and experts want to join the community, I haven't let them, because, you know, I've been very strict about people being in the UK. And when somebody does request to join, I check them out. So I check out where they're from, I look at what they're posting, and you know, some of the people that are requesting to join, you look at their posts and it's clear that they are bombarding different communities with the same post over and over again. They're in effect spamming. Some of the people are posting things that aren't appropriate or that people would find, you know, offensive or very inflammatory. And I don't feel that those are the people that I want in the community. So those are the people that aren't allowed in. The upshot is that the people who are allowed in are genuine posters. They're people who abide by the rules of the community. They don't spam, they respect other members. And that has allowed that real community feeling to develop within the community. So I think that if I'd have set the community up as an open community, it probably would be bigger. It definitely would be bigger. I probably turn down a dozen requests a day from people who are requesting to join. So the community will be much bigger, but I think the quality of the posting and the overall atmosphere in the community would be completely different. And I think it wouldn't be as successful. It certainly wouldn't be a place that I would want to spend a decent amount of time, which is what I do now. As like you, I spend time in that community, probably more time in the community than I do elsewhere on Google Plus.
Okay. Just on the kind of request to join the kind of open community, is that once you've set it up, can you change that policy?
I don't think that you can. You couldn't at the time, and so I kind of erred on the side of caution. So it is a decision. I think before you set up a community, you really got to consider what you're attempting to achieve with the community, you know, what the purpose of the community is, and that will then drive your decision as to whether you make it open or a closed door community. Obviously, communities, UK Connect is a public community in the sense that the posts in the community can be viewed by anybody. So even if you're not a member, you can still view the posts. You can't comment on them, but you can view them. And the posts show up in public streams. They show up on people's profiles if they have their settings set to allow that. But you can also have private communities, and obviously private communities have a place as well and can be very useful. I know lots of businesses set up private communities, and I've been a member of a number of private communities, whether it be in relation to, you know, a smaller group of people or a project. I've been a member of a private community which has been used purely for a project and, you know, as a place for people to collaborate. So you do need to just think about the purpose of the community when you're making those early decisions.
Yeah, we have a community internally as well. Actually, we used exactly the same thing. And obviously you got limited to people within Tillison Consulting, and then, you know, we might be reading something on Google Plus and say, oh, you need to read this, and then we can have a private conversation about whatever it might be. That you know, not that there's particularly anything to hide, but it might just be, what a crock, that's rubbish, you know. It's just not something you want to make public. But you know, we use that quite extensively. We used to have basically another another blog that we use for the same purpose, quite a few years ago now. So it was almost, it wasn't WordPress, but it was something else. It was one of those where obviously you have multiple members and they could post things and comment, and then obviously you have the comments underneath a normal blog post. And it was just like, why are we doing this? We could just use a Google Plus community. So yeah, we just created that private community there, where we kind of share things from there. Sometimes it is a bit tricky because someone will post something thinking they're doing it in our private community and they're not. So you kind of go, you do know this is public, right? So we had a couple of missteps on that occasionally, but there we go. Never mind. So any tips on the kind of day-to-day managing of the community?
Yeah, I think that whether you do it yourself, as you quite rightly say, you can appoint moderators. I think the moderators need to be present every day. The most successful communities on Google Plus are the well-moderated communities. I've been a member of a number of communities that have the moderators have kind of let things slip, and inappropriate posts start creeping in, a lot of spam start creeping in, and before you know it, the community is ruined, and people then decide they're not going to spend time there, and they leave, or they just don't bother to check in. So I think it's really important to be there every day. My approach in terms of sort of with UK Connect is that I have the community on notify, so every time somebody posts, I obviously get a notification. I check out all of the posts, make sure that there isn't any spam in there, and occasionally have to remove the odd post, but not too often. There is a spam filter automatically built into each Google Plus community, so again, as a moderator, you need to check that spam filter, because sometimes it will put genuine posts into the spam filter, and it's not always 100% accurate, so you need to kind of release some posts from the spam filter, and really just to try and engage with members. I mean, I don't particularly post in UK Connect that frequently. Sometimes I can literally go weeks and I've not posted anything at all into the community, but I'm usually there every day, commenting, reading other people's posts, engaging on other people's posts, because I've always been of the opinion that the best place to be on Google Plus is in the comment streams. It's the conversations that are going on that you get the value from. So I think that as a moderator or a community owner, you can actually encourage that engagement. You can kickstart the conversations. You can perhaps answer if people are asking questions, and you might not have the answer yourself, but someone who I often ping you into a conversation because I know that you'll have an answer to a problem that someone's raising. So it's just general rules of engagement. And just really making sure that the spam is kept under control, because nobody wants to spend time bombarded with spam. So yeah, it's just common sense, really, just general engagement.
Yeah, it just I mean, same rules apply with the kind of offline networking. Really, it's no different. It's I guess your kind of job, in inverted commas, is connecting people in the first place. And they do say within networking, there's people are connectors, and it is more a case of Donna meet Jim and you two should talk because and stuff like that. So I do a bit of that when the opportunity arises, or I'll be in a meeting with somebody and say, oh, do you know so and so? Oh, you should, because they'll be really good for you to know because and stuff like that. So that happens quite a lot. Certainly it happens on Twitter and happens on Google Plus quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
So just going back to one of your earlier points about kind of quality over quantity. I mean, it's something that we talk about a lot with social media, because it's so easy to kind of chase the numbers and kind of go, oh, I've got 5,000 Twitter followers, or I've got 1 million, whatever. And it's great and it's flattering and it's good for your ego. But actually, the quality is far more important than the quantity. And as you said, you want a community where there's engagement. I went through a process probably, and not even particularly actively. I didn't kind of set out to do it. I was on Google Plus one day on my phone and started looking at through the stream. I just thought, oh, this is, where is this coming from? And I joined a whole heap of communities. And I went through and just started kind of culling membership of a bunch of them, and just had a look at a community, like the last 10, 15 posts, and it was just link drop, link litter, and no, not even +1s on them, no, no, nothing, no engagement, no comments, no nothing, and it was just like, what's in this for me? There's these people who are posting this stuff, and you go and look at their profile, and like you said, they've just posted it to the same, the same post like 5, 6, 7, 10, 15, 20 different things, and then you see the same post again and again and again on their stream, and then half of them have just gone, banned by moderator or whatever comes up, and so they're posting it in communities that are being moderated, and then they're just being removed anyway, and you just think, well, half of these communities, I think, like you said, the moderators have just let them slip. Anyone can join. Everyone just goes and dumps links in there because they think it's good for SEO or something. It isn't, by the way. So, it's not really going to do you any favors. So, you're not link building by dropping things into communities. And certainly you are not going to get engagement on a link that you've dropped into a community if you don't already have relationships with the people in there. And that's a key thing for me with social media, full stop, but Google Plus communities in particular. I think I would first be commenting on other people's posts, getting to know people before I started kind of dropping my latest blog post or my video hangout with Donna in a community. I'd be quite comfortable doing that if I can beat Donna to it, sharing in the UK community, because I know a bunch of people there, and I know they'll enjoy the show and they'll watch it. So not a problem with doing things like that, but just joining a community and just kind of dumping lots of links in there, you're just wasting your time. Totally, honestly, just don't do it. It's all you're going to do is annoy the moderator, get yourself banned, or if there isn't a moderator who's actively moderating and kind of removing this stuff, you're just going to annoy all the members of the community and get yourself a bad reputation. And that's completely the opposite reason to be on social media or online, full stop.
Well, I find that we occasionally have some sort of slightly self-promotion posts that get put into our community, and I don't
not mine, I hope.
No, not I don't mind people posting their own blog posts, as you say, their own stuff, links to their sites, not a problem. But you'll find that if it's an engaged member who posts something like that, the other members will read it, they'll engage with it. If it's someone who isn't really active on other people's posts, the community almost self-moderates by ignoring the sort of more blatant self-promo posts that do slip through and go into the community. So I must admit, I don't rush to sort of remove any post that's slightly self-promo, because I find that the community as a whole tends to just self-moderate and ignores it, and if people keep doing that and they find that they just don't get the engagement, you've got to engage, you've got to give something to get something back, in life generally, but certainly when it comes to social media. And the people that do get the engagement are the people who engage on other people's posts first. So it's got to be a two-way thing.
Yeah, it's something we talk about a lot actually in social media coaching and things as well. Is we kind of stole it from Dr. Stephen Covey. I can't remember if you're a fan of the 7 Habits and that kind of stuff, but he talks about the emotional bank account. And it's a great analogy. You can't just walk into a bank and borrow money. You've got to invest first. You've got to pay some money in before they trust you enough to lend you some. And it's this emotional bank account he talks about is the same thing. If you want to be a respected, trusted member of a community, you have to invest in those relationships before you can start to withdraw. So yeah, absolutely. Build relationships and reputation is the key thing with social media, and we always talk about that. Brilliant. So let's just wrap up with some horror stories if you've got any. You must have one or two.
I don't have many. I mean, I would say that the worst thing that I've come across in my community is a couple of other members getting into a spat. I mean, one of the things I love about UK Connect is the fact that we very often have very, I won't say heated discussions. They don't often get heated, but we do have discussions. We have differences of opinion, and I love that. I love a good debate. I think there's nothing better than a good debate. But we have on odd occasions had people who have maybe used, shall we say, unfortunate language in their debates, and they've maybe offended one or two other people, and yeah, I have found myself, you know, sitting by the beach in Wales on holiday, and being bombarded by messages from two members who were having a spat and wanted me to intervene and tell the other one off, and you know, they were both as bad as one another. So you know, I do have that, but generally I've got to say in UK Connect we've not really had problems or issues. I think the biggest headache for a moderator can be if it's a very, very busy community, your notifications can go through the roof. So I suppose that's when you need other people to sort of come on board and help you. I am a little bit of a control freak. I'll hold my hand up to that. But
me too.
I think one of the biggest issues for me in appointing other moderators is that I'd have to appoint lots of moderators, because I think if I just appointed one or two, it would probably offend some other members who I didn't ask to be moderate. You know, it would almost be, well, you've appointed that person and I'm a valued member of this community too. And so I kind of think if you can have too many moderators, I think if you have too many moderators, the responsibility gets diluted a little bit, and people start to think, well, I won't bother checking because somebody else will. And so I haven't done that. But so yeah, sometimes the notifications can be a bit of a nightmare, but it's, on the whole, I like to see it because it means the community is active, and that's what I love. And going back to being, you know, talking about people who are connectors, social media is a tool. And I see it very much as a networking tool and a relationship building tool, and Google Plus in particular is excellent for that. But I'm a great believer in taking those relationships to another level, and trying to take them offline if you can, you know, develop them away from social media. You know, even to the extent that we had a meeting, a Google gathering not last year, 18 months ago, and we literally had members of UK Connect who came from the four corners of the country, and met in Birmingham just to sort of cement those relationships. And the reason that we were all prepared to do that was because we had built up such good relationships in the community to start with, and we really wanted to take those relationships to the next level. So, you know, communities are really valuable places to sort of meet and develop really good relationships with people.
I think we called it a hurl, didn't we? A hangout in real life.
In real life, that's right. Yeah.
A hangout in real life, yeah. And we do something similar. In fact, we just had one this week locally here in Hampshire. We do curry business, which is, you know, feeds my passion for curry, which is great. But we raise a bit of money for charity. We'll pay sort of 20 quid, and we'll have a curry, and £5 will go to a local charity. So we actually raised like 230 £230 on Tuesday night. You know, 30 odd people sitting having a curry and having a chat and just hanging out, really. You know, and it's great fun. And those you know, those come from all sorts of relationships from all sorts of places, from Twitter, Google Plus, from, you know, real life events, you know, networking opportunities, you know, those kinds of, you know, the breakfast meetings, those kinds of things where I go speaking at things, you know, we talk about them. Or exhibitions and things. So, you know, it's nice just instead of going, hey, come on, buy something, you know, it's much easier to go, hey, do you fancy a curry? What? Oh, that's a brilliant idea. And you know, people love it, and it's good because it is a social thing. You know, we don't do it as a you know, there's no elevator pitch, there's no membership, there's none of that stuff. It's just, you know, if you want to be on the invite list, we'll put you on the invite list, and you'll get an email saying we're going to be at this restaurant at this time. Register and then come along and pay your money on the night. And if you don't want to come to you know, one in April, but you want to make the one in May because it's closer to you, then that's fine, you know. But there's no pressure. But yeah, absolutely agree. You know, it's a good starting place for relationships. But if you can get the opportunity to meet in real life, then it's great. I did actually meet Peter from the UK Connect community. We were doing an exhibition in Southampton, and he wandered up. And you know, it was like, wow, you're real, you know, for both of us. So it was awesome. So yeah, just to wrap up then, in terms of communities in particular, size doesn't matter. I think is a key thing. Quality over quantity, absolutely. I think if I'm summarising your point properly, kind of think carefully about what you're trying to achieve with it in the first place, and then decide whether you want to make that a kind of gated community, so you have to request to be a member, or whether you're going to leave it empty, and also be prepared for having to spend time moderating, especially if it's an open community. So yeah, good stuff. Good, that's been great fun. I've enjoyed that a lot. I'm going to finish my coffee now, and I'll let you finish your water. Magic. Thanks, Donna.
Thank you, Mark. Bye.